Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific Northwest, from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
The sweet, sweet Seahawks, baby, it's time.
It's not how it goes, but we'll roll with the punches. Seahawks have closed up the training camp. Cuts coming tomorrow. Preseason is done. The Seahawks came out 1-1 in the preseason. Starters really only got a good amount of run, which was one series in the second game against the Chiefs. But I think that it helps give you some insight to see where this team is at. We'll be breaking down some of the position battles for those last roster spots and then kind of giving our forecast on the year, along with some MVPs across the board. But before we do that, I want to tell you a little bit about us. If you're looking for a ginge that is going to lead this pod like Sammy D, Sam Darnold, QB1, he's got a little ginge in him.
A little bit, a little bit.
A little bit, but
It's all in the beard.
that's my guy right now. Has to be. Got to represent for the Gingers. And it's me, your boy, Coach Red. You can find me on X at the Real Coach Red, on Instagram at the Real _ Coach Red, TikTok at the Real Coach Red. Also, find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and leave a comment or two. And if you're looking for a guy, I was trying to think of anyone that has a nice, luscious beard, but no one just really sticks out. So we're going to go with the tattoos like Michael Dixon's Cain.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm Kane. You can find me over on Twitter at KTwitch406, TikTok and Twitch, Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Boss. Do it, freaking do it.
As a whole, it's weird. A lot of the national media has the Seahawks ending at the bottom of the division.
Very weird.
Eastern Washington alone, Colin Cowherd has them as a top 10 team in all of the NFL. And I think a lot of it's going to come down to what happens offensively, right? You saw the strides that they took. They had that 1 month stretch where the defense did not look great, but outside of that, at the beginning and into the year, you saw very good things. They return a lot of starters defensively, and they've added some, and you get Ernest Jones for a whole year at the linebacker position. You have Tyrese Knight that should be available week 1, and then you add in Lawrence along the defensive line. You go get Nick Emanwari, bring Shaq Griffin back as that third, fourth corner. You feel good about what they're going to bring you defensively, right? And
yes.
I think that the saving grace for them early on is the Niners are dealing with a slew of injuries for week 1. So you could see them start off hot, but it's really going to come down a lot to what this team does offensively. Ryan Grubb is out. Clint Kubiak is in. You have a new starting quarterback. You have a new group of wide receivers that you're anticipating to make some splashes with them moving on from DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett mainstays. You see Noah Fant get released, so you're leaning heavily on AJ Barner and Elijah Arroyo. So, and they go and use their first overall pick on Gray Zabel, who during the preseason, the dude has looked great.
Yeah. I mean, he's held his own. It seems it like every person that he's been pass rushed against, the way he handled Max Crosby, to be wildly specific, and not to mention what he did to Chris Jones. My goodness.
I mean, I think that we're going to be pleasantly surprised. You're looking at the offensive line as a whole. You have, whoever's going to start at center. I think it's going to be due to availability. I think Oluwatimi probably gets that if healthy, but Sundell is a guy that played with Zabel. Sundell's a little bit more athletic at the center position compared to Olawatimi. I would say that Olawatimi is more of that traditional center type, but a healthy Abe Lucas, I think, is going to be key. And you should get Charles Cross back for the start of the season. Seems like Anthony Bradford has won the job at right guard, and you're dealing with
Low-key
injuries
looking all
to
right.
Christian Haynes right now with pec muscle. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all flushes out. But they have upside. You have Sam Darnold, who had a very good year last year and did so with an offensive line that was not much better than what the Seahawks had last
Mm-hmm.
year. And down the stretch, their line was a little bit more taxed. And then you saw how the pressure can affect Sam Darnold. When you can keep a clean pocket, when you can stay balanced, you saw what Aaron Jones brought to that team in Minnesota last year, having Zach Charbonnet, who seems to have taken another step forward. Kenneth Walker is lightning in a bottle when he is on the field. And even what you're seeing out of George Halani, and I think that's where we'll start is kind of that RB3. You had Kenny McIntosh go down with the season-ending injury, so
Very unfortunate.
you looked at running back three as being a battle between George Halani and Damian Martinez. And Martinez did such good things at Oregon State. He had a very good year. Seahawks going back to the well, taking a running back out of Miami. It seems like they do that almost every year, like Travis Homer and DJ Dallas.
Yep.
A little bit later in the draft, but has the potential to get rolling. He just didn't ever get rolling during this preseason. And I think that
Yeah.
Halani really showed his growth. I mean, he had a good preseason last year as an undrafted guy, but he looked even better and got a little bit of special team snaps with the team last year.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think
Kalani
he's
is
as a lock.
locked in.
I mean, I think a close second would be right. I saw a lot of good things out of him.
They're not going to keep that, especially you're going to keep
Right.
three running backs because they
Yeah.
are going to keep Robbie Oots at the fullback position. They will implore a
100%.
fullback. They
Yeah.
are going to go heavy too, I believe, in the tight end room because you do have that youth. And I would say that Barner is a more competent pass catcher than he is a blocker right now. Same with Elijah Arroyo. So you're going to have the likes of Brady Russell and, uh, oh man, Sauerbert.
Or yeah, Cybert, I think his name is.
Yeah. And so I think with Russell, he can get a little bit of run at the fullback position too, if needed. So you look at this team. I think the other big question mark is what happens at what happens in the wide receiver room. Your locks for sure:
Yeah.
JSN, Cooper
Cooper
Cup,
Cup. I
Torrey
think
Horton is a lock. I think Jake
yeah,
Bobo is a lock.
I
And
think Derek Young is also a lock because he's such a good special teamers.
yeah, because then it leaves you with MVS who they sign. It wouldn't be surprised if they tried to gain some capital.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of guaranteed there, but didn't really pop. And you could tell his position on the team was in jeopardy with him playing in the third preseason game, right?
All game I believe he played. And I don't think it was very good.
No. And you were sitting there with a lot of the backups playing. I mean, you had Jaden Milrow playing the whole game, and he will be QB3. He will make this roster. They are going to implore packages for him, kind of in that Taysom Hill type role. And it makes this offense a little bit more multifaceted. I think with the scheme that Kubiak brings in, it's not as gimmicky as what Ryan Grubb would do. A
Mm-hmm.
little bit more traditional plays into that zone concept a little bit more, gap scheme zone. And in doing so, you have a downhill runner in Zach Charbonnet. I would say that Halani is another downhill runner. And then Alvin Kamara did big things, even with the slew of characters they tossed out at quarterback last year down in New Orleans, and being able to utilize the running back in the passing game. Charbonnet is adequate, but K9 really ratchets that up quite a bit with his
And I
elusiveness in space.
and I think that that is something that they're gonna dip into a little bit more. K9 has caught passes before, but I think you're gonna see a serious uptick for him, especially if they're gonna run that two running back set that's been kind of mentioned, with a little probably RPOs thrown in there. So I would expect that K9 gets way more pass attempts in play.
And if you're really looking at this team, I think a person that at least other players have been talking about is Byron Murphy taking that next step forward, having a little bit of injury bug last year, but having a full NFL offseason and the tools that he brings to the plate. I think that this defense is going to be a terror for other offenses because they can get you in
Yeah.
so many ways. They can play coverage with Reek and Spoon and throw in your other one. Kobe Bryant, Julian Love are both ball hawks. Eman Wari is a thumper
Thumper.
and can flash with all the athleticism in the world. You have Ernest Jones and Tyrese Knight that can cover sideline to sideline. Man, they fly and they do not miss very many tackles like this.
No.
And then when you look at the defensive line, you've got Boye Mafe going into a contract year. You've got Derek Hall, where you saw him go to the next level. You have Lawrence coming off injury, but you've got the big cat Leonard Williams and what he was able to do last year. You still have Jaron Reed on this team, right? You
Yeah.
have guys that can go get after the quarterback. And if you have a healthy Nwosu, he's probably your best edge defender to play against the run. You can play
Actually,
coverage and let your defensive line eat. Your defensive line can press the pocket and put the quarterback into putting a ball into harm's way. Like they can do it so many different ways defensively. And I think that if you just get an above average version of Sam Darnold that can be an above average game manager, I think that's what you really look at this team and what they need going forward because you sit there and can rely on your defense. And you've seen it time and time again in the NFL, even though this is more of an offensive league. When you have a stout defensive team, you can still make your way into the playoffs. Look at the Steelers from last year. You had suboptimal play from Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And Justin Fields was 4-1 as a starter, and they were averaging like 17 points a game. And it wasn't a pretty 17, right? They did it on the backs of that Pittsburgh defense. And I think that if there's a higher upside, right? There's more established guys than you had in Pittsburgh. You had Najee, who was kind of a disappointment at the running back position. Jalen Warren did not have a very good year last year. Pickens was a headache. Fryermuth is okay, right? There wasn't a lot of big firepower with that Pittsburgh team. And I think that's a similar outlook on such a stout defense and what can be perceived right now as an offense that is good but not great.
So the way I look at the offense through the preseason and just kind of been following throughout training camp is the fact of the matter they've taken a step up this year. It seems like, especially now with structure, right? And you have legendary offensive line coach that Kubiak brought with him, right? I think it's Benton. Like he's had very good output from offensive lines at almost every stop that he's been at. So they've taken a step up from what it seems, right? You saw very good things out of Gray Zabel. Anthony Bradford actually graded out through that one
Coming in
series
a
that they
little
had.
bit lighter, too, a little bit more
Yeah,
athletic.
he graded out in a 92 on that 10 play series that they had preseason week 2. And I just think that the way that Kubiak is going to call plays is just going to put this team in a very good spot, especially with what we think we're going to see from Zach Charbonnet this
I think
year.
that a healthy Abe Lucas is key here, right? When
100%,
Abe
dude.
Lucas has been
It's
healthy and been effective on the field is when you saw the best version of this offensive
mhm.
line. And I think that's going to be one of the keys going forward. Can you keep a clean pocket for Sam Darnold? And can you great in the run game? Because they are going to be getting back to a run first offense. And they have the horses to do it. right? You're going to implore a fullback. And Robbie Oots, man, can he stick his nose in a hole and blow up an edge defender or a linebacker?
Oh, dude, it's been a lot of fun seeing them throw Robbie Oots out there. I think he also had one where he absolutely creamed Max Crosby, lit him
Yeah,
up.
I can't wait for him to just start like pancaking people and for me to say, Oots, he did it again.
That's good. That's good.
I know.
I do think that this offense, you're going to see a better, just a better structure with scoring, and that is something that they could not do last year was score within the red zone. Uh, Sam came here because of Clint. That's been widely known, widely talked about. He feels comfortable in this type of system. I think that our offensive line runs this system very good because what you saw from the twos during Drew Locke's performances, right? You had Abe Lucas out there a little bit. You had Gray Zabel out there. I believe you had Sundell out there, and they all looked really good. And yes, it's against twos, but you're also coming in with a finally 100% Abe Lucas that had a full training camp off season, like looked great out there.
And Drew Lock, outside of one bad throw, looked pretty damn good in his two games. So
Yeah.
I think this team as a whole, you're definitely not as explosive. Losing a DK Metcalf will hurt
Mm-hmm.
your
100.
explosiveness, but having JSN in the same room as Cooper Cup
Mm.
and being a technician at the wide receiver position, I think will help in his development. And Cooper Cup coming back to the state of Washington, where he had so much success in high school and in college. It's something that we always wanted, just never thought that it was going to be able to happen. I thought he was going to be a lifelong Ram. You know, they let him go, dealing with a little bit of injuries, but I do think that he still has juice in the tank and especially is going to want to show out in front of Washingtonians. So
Yeah.
it's going to be an interesting year as we
Like
navigate this.
it's really hard to talk like position battles, because I don't think there's any. Like I think this team's pretty like lock and key on what the foundation is. I just think like the biggest thing is you're like four and fives of stuff, right? Like
And we're not going to jump into that. We're going to jump into kind of how we see the season unfolding and
mm,
kind of looking at some different aspects of this team. I think that you have some younger players offensively and defensively that are going to play pretty well. So we'll just jump into it. I think we'll start with the easiest one. I think we'll probably agree on who is your Seahawks defensive rookie of the year candidate.
defensive rookie of the year, Nick and Mallory.
Oh, that was I'm surprised it took
I
that
was
long.
I was I was thinking of Mason, but I thought it was just thought it was gonna be so close, dude.
Um,
That Iowa kid's actually played pretty decent in the preseason as well,
sure.
but not as well as Nicky Mawari's gonna do.
Nikki Mamari is going to be in packages throughout the year.
Yes.
Are there going to be some times where you're going to scratch your head where he's going to over rely on athleticism to bail him out? Yes. But I do think that he is going to provide a few highlight plays that really become a catalyst in game to really let this team go because with Mike Macdonald being a defensive first head coach, you could really see this team last year when they were picking the ball off, creating pressure and sacks, how juice they got and how that carried over through the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Eman Wari is going to give you enough plays this year that is going to really energize this defense to make them play that much better.
And I agree with that. And also setting him up week one against the 49ers is going to be cinema. Straight cinema, dude.
All right. Who is your offensive rookie of the year?
Grace Abel. I mean, I think it comes down to that. I don't think you're gonna throw Torrey Horton really into that conversation. Just I think of the output that Gray's able is going to give you, and the way I think we're going to look at it this year, I think he's going to be the best offensive piece. One of them.
I could agree with that. I'm going to throw out a different name just so that way we're not going chalk throughout here. I'm going to go with Elijah Arroyo.
I
I
do
think
like
that
that.
I think that what he can bring you explosiveness in the tight end room is definitely something that made them feel comfortable letting Noah Fant walk. And I do think that his ability, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he blocks his tail off. He try like he's a more competent blocker than Jimmy Graham was when he was here already from what I've seen in preseason, right?
And
Uh
not to mention those hands, dude.
so good. So
So good.
I do think that having him be on this team really elevates that tight end room, and
Mm-hmm.
they are going to be able to implore times where it will be either him or AJ Barn on the field with another more block heavy tight end on the other side that gives you that multiple look on offense, so you're not sitting there and you're going to be relying on the run, so that play action is going to play so much better. And for him getting up the seam, making those little pop passes, those deep hooks, I think could be something that we have not seen out of the Seahawks team in a while, with really utilizing the tight ends more than they have
Yeah, I
in
mean,
recent history.
the most used tight end that I have seen since my time of watching the Seahawks has been Luke Wilson. Like I feel like we used him more than we used Jimmy Graham. Like it's just this is going to be a well executed scheme tight end play, and I think that with the raw athleticism that Arroyo brings, like to that tight end room, it's like you have another wide receiver out there who's just giant and doesn't really drop the ball. So
All right, now we'll go to specialist of the year. That can also include kick and punt returners if you would like.
that's tough because like I also don't know like I didn't see Ricky White out there at all. I feel like I didn't see him at all. Like
I don't think Ricky White makes the team.
probably not. I just figured that he'd be like perfect for the punt and kick return, and I didn't see him. So I have no idea who's going to be returning kicks or anything, but I'm gonna put it on Michael Dixon. I best leg and best punter in football. Who are you
What a
gonna go
breakdown.
with?
What a breakdown.
Yeah.
Um, Michael Dixon has the ability to flip the field at any time, right? When you're backed up, he has the ability to still get off a punt that has so much hang time that it doesn't really allow the returners to set up for big returns that often. Dynamic when you're in that middle of the field, being able to cough and corner. I think that's huge. But I'm going to take Jason Meyer. You know,
Also a good pick.
Jason Meyer, better year last year than the year prior. And the year before that,
Been a really solid kicker, to
he
be
was
honest.
perfect on field goals, didn't have all the extra points. But I think that Jason Meyer is going to win you a game or two this year. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
for me, that is what you need your specialists to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
We none of us went long snapper, unfortunately.
I don't even know who it is.
All right, King, let's go to defensive MVP.
It goes against my better judgment to do this, but I think it's going to be a big one. I really do. And it's contract year. That's the big one. Uh, so far, the news has been he's looked electric. And this is what you need out of Reed Wilson this year, right? For this team to really take that step because you're getting the juice from Will Spoon, right? But you need that exclamation point, I think, on defense this year. And Reek playing like he did 2, 3 years ago,
Well,
where
even down
just
the
locked,
stretch last year, he was playing at such a
yeah,
high
at a
level.
better and just being that lockdown corner, possibly throwing in about 6 or 7 picks this year. I think a lot of people need to get reeked this year. So let's go. Who's your defensive MVP?
Give me the big cat.
I
Uh,
like that one too.
I think that what you saw at times last year, he was the best defender for a 2 week stretch in the NFL. And second year in a Mike Macdonald system, he has Ernest Jones for a full year. You have Tyrese Knight. You have the guys behind him at that second level that he's going to feel more comfortable with. You throw Chinua or you throw Lawrence opposite of him, that helps him so much. And the ability for Jaron Reed to pass rush from the interior, I expect to see more pass rush from Byron Murphy, which is going to only help Leonard Williams even more. I'm surprised you didn't go with Ernest Jones because he
I
will
love
100%
Ernest Jones, but
lead this team in tackles.
I do have to go with Reek though. It's too important of a year for him.
All right. Offensive MVP.
It's tough because like I want to say JSN. My heart's telling me to go JSN, but I have to go Zach Charbonnet. I do think he edges out for running back one. Yes, Canine is lightning in a bottle, but also last year you saw in the year prior you saw a lot of hesitation when hitting the hole. And every time I see Zach Charbonnet run, it's see hole, hit hole. I run fast. Like that's all I ever see him do. He thrives off bouncing off of people. And I just think that Coobs in this line are gonna get him. Like the production is gonna be so much out of him this year. Give me Zach Charbonnet. Coach Red, who's your offensive MVP?
My offensive MVP is going to be JSN because I think he can change the game for you.
Mm-hmm.
He quietly led this team in
Almost
yardage last year,
everything.
catches, touchdowns. He did it all, right? And you're going into year three. Yes, you do have a new quarterback at the helm, but obviously you expect to hear that your number one wide receiver has built up a good rapport with your new franchise quarterback, right? You expect to hear that. But with the strides that JSN took, and even at his time at Ohio State, the talk was he was more talented than Marvin Harrison Jr., that he was more talented than Garrett Wilson, that he was more talented than
And
Chris
Chris
Olave.
Olave. Yeah.
Like, you really look at this as a breakout season, full season in the NFL, fully healthy training camp. He is the de facto leader of this group. Granted,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, it's going to be Cooper Cup, but JSN's been with this team. He's the longest tenured wide receiver in this group, right? Well, right there with Jake Bobo, but has had more success
Mm-hmm.
at the wide receiver position. And having that run first mentality, you're going to need to make the most out of your touches. And JSN can do that at a multitude of levels. He can catch that short screen pass and break it. He can run the middle of the field, and he can still give you upside as a deep ball catcher. So go ahead and give me JSN as the offensive MVP.
It's just like you said, a couple picks ago, where you didn't want to just same pick every time. Like my heart tells me JSN, but I just think that Charbonnet is going to play a very important role this
Oh,
year.
I had a backup if you went with JSN.
Oh, okay.
Don't
I
worry
figured.
about that.
I
All
figured.
right. Last one. Who is going to be the overall MVP of this team?
Overall MVP. I think with all the eyes on like how this team's gonna roll in and everything, I think it's gonna be Sam. I do think it's gonna be Sam Darnold because at the end of the day, right, he heads the offense, and I think that's what a lot of the national media is just like, oh, they're so hung up about the last two games where their entire offense fell apart in Minnesota that's just the story of Sam Darnold. Last year, he also led the league in so much statistical spots, right? I don't think it's a fluke. So give me Sam Darnold. I think he's going to make the most out of it, enough to get him another year in Seattle after this year. So I think it's literally in Sam Darnold's hands. Coach Red, who's your overall MVP?
It's going to be a shocker
Oh.
because I didn't pick him for offensive MVP. Give me Gray Zabel as the MVP of this team because the weak point of the Seahawks for a long time has been offensive line play. And when Gray Zabel has been on the field, his ability to, and he hasn't even been playing with Charles Cross yet on the
Right.
left hand side, his ability to stay sticky in the run game and overpower veterans and his ability to pass pro, I that this team will go on how the offensive line plays. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest key to that cog right now is Gray Zabel. So I think this team will go as far as the offensive line will allow it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be the centerpiece. You look at guards that are now getting big time money. Gray Zabel's going to command a lot when it's his time to get paid.
You better
And
pay
what
the man.
and what we've seen ever so limited so far, everything's been positive.
Yeah,
And along the
like
offensive line, you could make a splash early on in your career, especially on the interior offensive line. You look at what Creed Humphreys has done at the center position for the Kansas City Chiefs. They would not be in the position that they have been in the last couple of years without a competent offensive line around Patrick Mahomes. And when you really look at when these runs of Super Bowl appearances have really taken off, it's been in conjuncture with an interior offensive lineman in Creed Humphreys. I think the Seahawks could do a similar thing here with Gray Zabel being the anchor on the interior left side of this
mhm.
line.
I agree. I agree with that.
And that's going to do it for this. We might have another Seahawks episode before week one, but we will have to wait and see. But until then, why don't you hop over on social media and give us a little follow? You can find me, your boy Coach Red, on X at the Real Coach Red, on Instagram at the Real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the Real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and leave a comment or two. Kane, where you at?
Find me over on Twitter, K2406, TikTok, and Twitch, K0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Follow us, follow us, follow us. Do it, freaking do it.
And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.